difference between Riley's islands of personality and her sense of self. I mean, both of these structures are formed using memories. They both represent Riley's values, and they both shape how Riley interacts with the world. So why are they both separate entities in Riley's mind? I mean, Riley's headquarters is expanding, the console is growing, and the number of emotions she has is increasing, so why couldn't her islands of personality evolve too? Well, after looking into all of the Inside Out, bonus features, art books, and behind-the-scenes interviews, today I want to explain why Riley's sense of self exists and how it truly stands on its own within her mind. Now, of course, in Inside Out, we were introduced to the idea that the islands of personality each existed as a unique aspect of Riley's personality, and that they were each empowered by core memories. As Joy explained, the islands of personality were what made Riley, Riley. Without them, Riley was lost. And according to the art of Inside Out 2, it seems like they were originally going to be expanded upon in the sequel. Early into the production of Inside Out 2, Anxiety was actually going to attempt to change Riley by altering the islands of personality. You see, there's concept art of all of these larger core memory holders that would now be able to store potentially dozens of memories, with some of the drawings possessing some kind of representation of Riley's sense of self on top of them. It seems that the sense of self at one point was going to be derived from the core memories. There's also storyboards and sketches of Anxiety attempting to hack the islands of personality. By funneling normal memories into the core memory holder, Anxiety hoped that she could form new islands. In the storyboard specifically, it seems that by using an anxious memory from an embarrassing exchange with one of the hockey girls, Anxiety was able to create an island that showed Riley putting a wall up between her and the rest of the world. Other islands that were considered for Inside Out 2 included ones like Popularity Island, Winner Island, and Trend Island. And what I think is really interesting about all of this, though, is that a negative island of personality isn't necessarily an unprecedented idea. Remember, when Riley got embarrassed at her new school in San Francisco, that formed a negative core memory, which presumably would have created a shy, reserved, or anxious island of personality within Riley. But Joy and Sadness never covered that core memory on their journey, so that island of personality never got the chance to form. Honestly, I don't know about you, but I think it's kind of crazy thinking back to how important core memories were hyped up to be in the original film, but in the end, the emotions completely left one behind. Like, I didn't even realize that was something that they were allowed to do. And in Inside Out 2, they kind of leave a lot of islands behind as well. When Riley turns 13, she only has the original 5 islands of personality left. Fashion Island, Boy Band Island, and Tragic Vampire Romance Island have all disappeared after the ending of Inside Out. Of course, Friendship Island has expanded and Family Island has shrunk significantly in Inside Out 2, but otherwise Riley's islands of personality have gone back to the way they were before the main events of the original film, which I think is kind of weird. Again, I don't know about you, but I thought core memories in the islands of personality were permanent and unchangeable aspects of Riley. From my understanding, Riley would completely fall apart without those islands of personality, but it's become clear now that they can change over time. Now, of course, most of these ideas surrounding the islands of personality in Inside Out 2 never came together because the creative team wanted to move away from Anxiety messing with the core memories. You see, Pete Docter, the chief creative officer at Pixar and the director on the original Inside Out, explained that early on they were considering having the emotions go after the core memories again. And I think what this means is that early on Anxiety was going to remove all of Riley's core memories in the hopes that she could replace them all to rebuild Riley's personality. That would have then forced Joy, Sadness, Anger, Envy, and Fear to recover the core memories again, but over time, it seems the filmmakers realized that they didn't want to repeat themselves. They wanted to go into new directions instead of staying close to the plot of the original film. So they decided to continue their exploration of Riley's mind by creating a new structure. And the result was the belief system. You see, the belief system exists inside Riley's mind below headquarters, and in a similar way to how islands of personality were created through core memories, beliefs form from Riley's memories and then grow and bind together to create Riley's sense of self. But there's a big difference between the islands of personality and the sense of self. You see, personality is conventionally defined as a combination of characteristics that come together to form someone's character, while an individual's sense of self is how someone perceives those characteristics. What this means in the context of Inside Out is that while the islands of personality represent who Riley actually is, the sense of self represents how Riley views herself. And here's what this means in practice. While Riley may have an honesty island, which shows that honesty is important to her, if she fails to live up to being an honest person by lying or cheating or being manipulative in her daily life, then that might result in her feeling like she's not an honorable person. Even though there's a core memory that supports Riley's desire to be honest, all of the memories of her not living in alignment with that value can damage how she perceives herself, which alters her sense of self. Like personally, I feel like I value hard work a lot, but sometimes the anxiety around performing at a high level, trying to make everything perfect, makes me not work hard, and I feel like I am not living up to that kind of thing. When I don't make videos, I feel worse about myself. But that negative perception of myself doesn't affect what my values are. But that's not how anxiety was hoping everything would function. She was under the impression that if she sent Riley's original sense of self to the back of the mind and planted new anxious memories in the belief system, that would make Riley into a completely new person. In reality though, anxiety didn't change Riley, she only affected how Riley viewed who she was as a person. Those anxious memories that were transforming into beliefs supported the idea that Riley wouldn't be able to receive friendship, acceptance, and love unless she pretended to be someone that she wasn't. The unspoken implication of all of these beliefs was that Riley wasn't good enough. And Joy made a similar mistake. She hoped that by exclusively placing good memories within Riley's belief system and throwing the rest to the back of the mind, that would allow Riley to always think positively about herself. Joy wanted Riley to believe that she was always a good person, but in reality, that decision only suppressed who Riley truly was. I mean, if Joy really wanted all those bad memories to go away completely, she should have thrown them into the memory dumps. But my guess is that Joy wasn't trying to erase every bad memory from ever existing. Joy learned from sadness that sometimes the painful memories are the ones that can hold a great deal of meaning in our lives. She just didn't want Riley to believe that she was her mistakes. She didn't want to have her think less of herself because she was flawed. But the truth is, Joy wasn't allowing Riley to fully love every aspect of who she is. Riley couldn't completely love herself until she accepted the good and the bad parts of herself. And what this all means is that while Riley's islands of personality and her sense of self may seem similar, they each have distinct purposes in representing and shaping her identity. The islands of personality represent what Riley values. They form the foundation of who she is, while her sense of self represents how she perceives who she is as a person. And I think it made sense to separate these two structures, not only to improve the narrative of Inside Out 2, but to also provide a deeper depiction of how our own minds work. I'd like to say that I really did enjoy Inside Out 2. I went and saw it right away, and I really wanted to make a video about it. I just couldn't find like my first way into the subject matter, because I feel like there's a lot of interesting things, but how to package them into a video and then present them and do that whole thing. I mean, I bought this shirt, I went and saw the movie, I felt like I had to make a video on it, and I spent like a whole week trying to come up with ideas, and I you know what I realized? That I was feeling anxious talking about anxiety. So, you know, classic case of the movie kind of resonating with me in a deep way. I can't wait to dive more into how anxiety functions in the mind, what her purpose is, and what her future will hold. And if you'd like to see more Inside Out 2 videos like that, make sure to subscribe for more. Thank you to all of my supporters over on Patreon as well. If you'd like to support everything we do here, consider joining the community by going to patreon.com/IsaacCarlson. Over there, you can gain access to our private Discord server, where I'd love to chat with you about Inside Out 2 and everything I'm working on behind the scenes. And finally, I'm Isaac Carlson. Thanks for watching, and have a magical day.